Hi friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette ranking and review videos. Making sure there's no lipstick in my teeth and the occasional other content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like me, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos sort of every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, maybe it's happy that you are seeing it again. And I say sort of because it's been trending at like 1 a week, but I'm trying to do 2. I'm going for it. We'll see. I've tried to like plan my content for the rest of the year, so hopefully we can get back on the 2 schedule, at least until my baby's here, and then it'll probably be 0 a week for a while. Anyways, I wanted to chat about what you saw the title of this video as, which is Palettes I Regret Decluttering. I wanted to chat about this because I feel like we're hitting collection and declutter video season, and I don't know about you guys, but like watching hoarders or watching declutter videos makes me feel like I have to get rid of things. And I'm not saying that I don't need to get rid of stuff, and I'm not saying that I haven't decluttered a ton of stuff that I don't miss at all, but there's a few palettes that I've decluttered that I kind of wish I didn't. So let this serve as a warning to you that if you see somebody post a declutter video, that does not mean that you have to declutter anything in your collection. It also doesn't mean that you need to go out and buy anything in your collection because somebody has a bigger collection than you, blah, 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 blah. No. Take that content for just entertainment. And anyways, let's go ahead and get on into it. So I just want to talk about some palettes that I've been missing lately. I'm not saying that you should go buy these palettes or that you need these palettes, because I did declutter them. And, you know, you would think I would declutter them for a reason. So I know I did. So we'll talk about that. But anyways, first up, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills collab with, and I'm going to lean over here so I can put the pictures of the palettes up here because I don't have them anywhere. Anyways, we have the Anastasia Beverly Hills collab with Jackie Aina, and that palette was like one of my favorite palettes of all time for a while, like at least a couple years, I think. And then ABH did some questionable things, and so I felt like I couldn't use them on, social media. So I got rid of all my ABH stuff. There was other ABH palettes that I had decluttered already just because they weren't really my jam anymore. I wasn't really into neutrals, but the Jackie Aina palette was one of the ones that I had held on to because I really liked that color story. I liked the formula. I like Jackie. But anyways, yeah, I was like, so if I'm not going to use it in content, I shouldn't have it. And then I ended up buying the ABH Cosmos palette this year, and I ended up already decluttering that one. So I don't know why I bought the Cosmos palette, but anyways, the Jackie Aina palette. Whenever I see somebody mention that palette in a video, I'm a little bit sad about it because I kind of missed that palette. It was a good one. Do I have palettes that probably have the, like, not that exact color story, but have the shades in that I could like recreate that color story? Definitely, but I missed that particular one. Next up is the ABH and Carli Bybel palette. I think that palette had more mixed reviews than the Jackie Aina one had, if I'm not mistaken. But I really liked both of those palettes, and I really liked the Carli Bybel one for like softer neutral looks with like kind of like a hint of color. I thought that one was really, really fun, and I did enjoy the mattes in that palette. I think that was, a lot of people felt like they were too softly pressed. I did not like the packaging, and I feel like because I hated looking at the packaging, it pushed me into decluttering it sooner. I feel like I decluttered that one before the Jackie Aina one, if I'm not mistaken. But that was definitely a factor in that. And it was definitely more neutral. So I think when I hit the part of my makeup journey where like I wasn't doing neutrals at all, I got rid of a ton of neutral palettes that I now kind of in hindsight wish I still had. Now that I'm back into neutrals. Next up, we have the Colourpop and Kathleen Lights So Jaded palette. You might sense a theme that a lot of these palettes were limited edition and aren't available anymore. Yeah, That's true. Because part of me is like, I can't get them even if I wanted to. So I think that's part of it, why I regret decluttering them. But anyways, Colourpop and Kathleen Lights So Jaded. This was their first like big palette that they did. And this was a really nice color story. I ended up decluttering it because I didn't feel like the shimmers performed as well as I would have liked them to. But I have a lot of palettes where I don't love the shimmers and I keep them around because I use the mattes with like my special like toppers or liquid shadows or chrome flakes, whatever. And I don't know why I didn't do that with that one, like why I got rid of it. I think I had an issue with the fact that it also had pressed glitters in it. So that's probably what prompted me to declutter it, but I kind of wish I still had that one. It was really pretty and I liked that color story a lot. So that one I miss. Next up is the Natasha Denona Zendo palette. That is definitely not one of my favorite palettes from Natasha Denona, but there's like a part of me that like really wants to have the collector's mindset with the midi size of her palettes, and so knowing that like I don't have that one like just bothers me, and I have to really talk myself off the ledge to be like, you don't need to collect it, you don't need to collect it, you don't need to collect it. But I see so many people post like these amazing like build your own palettes where they move around the Natasha Denona palette like shadows and create this like beautiful color story, and I'm like, I want to do that until I see the Zendo palette is featured, and I'm like, well, I can't do that because I got rid of Zendo. So yeah, I missed that one. On that same wavelength, another one that I miss is the Natasha Denona Pastel palette. I decluttered that when I got my BellaBeauteBar Pastel Garden because I honestly didn't love the Natasha Denona Pastel palette. I didn't feel like the pastels were that pigmented, and it just wasn't my favorite palette, and I don't like all pastel looks. So when I got the BellaBeauteBar Pastel Garden palette, I was like, I have every pastel I need. All of these pastels are better, so I don't need the pastel palette from Natasha Denona anymore because I have this one. So that's why I got rid of that. Really, the Zendo and the pastel palette, the only reason I want them back is so that if I wanted to rearrange my palettes like a Natasha Denona palette, I could, because I'd have all of the midi shades. But if we're being honest, I don't know if I ever actually would rearrange those palettes. So here we are. Next up is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. That palette I loved. I loved that palette. I got it like 50% off. Like I didn't buy it right when it launched. I bought it when it was like super discounted. So I got it at like 50% off. It was well worth the price that I paid for it. It lasted me a long time. It was my go-to palette whenever I traveled. Like for like 2 years, that was the palette I always brought on trips with me because I just felt like it had exactly what I needed. I brought it on my bachelorette trip last year and like was able to get the looks I wanted out of that palette. And I don't know why I decluttered it. I don't know. It wasn't like, I guess I wasn't reaching for it, and so I felt like I shouldn't have it if I'm not really reaching for it, and it was kind of old, and I didn't feel like the quality was quite up to snuff with all of my other palettes that I have, but that was a good one, and I kind of miss it. And I really liked the packaging. And Urban Decay, please relaunch Born to Run in like a good formula. I will buy it because I loved that palette. But anyways, yeah. Imagine Born to Run from Urban Decay, but like take out the shimmers and just give us like the Moondust, like toppery shimmers. You know what I'm saying? That would be amazing. Alter Ego Goddess palette. It falls into the wanting like a Natasha Denona sort of like collector's mindset. You can't get the Natasha Denona gold palette. I never had that. That was the closest thing I had to it, and I actually really did like that palette. I thought the shimmers in it were really nice. Again, I never tried the original version that it's based off of, but I kind of miss it because like if I wanted to have like almost like a whole Natasha Denona collection, I could have the Alter Ego dupes for the original palettes that I didn't have. So I think that's why I missed that one. But again, I don't need to have a collector's mindset. I probably have those shades in other palettes, although I do recall the Goddess palette in particular having very sparkly shimmers. So I think that's what I miss mostly, is the really sparkly shimmers. And there was one like green duochrome shade that was like really, really sparkly. Anyways, it was like a lot of sparkle fallout, which is ironic that I'm talking about that now because I don't know if you can see, but I have sparkle fallout all over my face today. Anywho, next up is the Alter Ego Artemis palette. This is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, and I really liked this one. Like, I really liked it. I think it went away when I was in my more, like, I only wear colorful eyeshadows, I don't wear neutrals phase. Otherwise, I feel like I would have kept it because I can't remember. I mean, you know, keep me honest if you've watched older ranking videos of mine recently, but I can't remember like having issues with it. I think I just kind of stopped reaching for it, and then it was like mostly neutral, and then I was like, I don't want it, and then I got rid of it. Both Alter Ego palettes, I believe, are still for sale, and it was a debate that I had because they were on sale for like $12 or $14 during Black Friday, and I talked myself out of them. But I was kind of like, those two and the Sahara, I was almost like, do I buy those? And then do I just get I don't think you can buy Zendo anymore from Natasha Denona. I'm pretty sure that one's gone. Anyways, yeah, there we are. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about that one and my desire to be a Natasha Denona collector that I don't need to be. I don't have to collect everything. It's okay that I don't have every eyeshadow palette from every brand because that would be physically impossible. Next up, we have the Huda Beauty New Nude palette. That palette was so pretty and had like such a soft, like pinky mauve-y tones. And I just miss it. It was like such a pretty sparkle on the lid, especially this like light lavender shimmer. And I don't know, there was just something about that palette that I really enjoyed. Do I need it? No. And I think the reason I decluttered it was because I felt like the shades I liked in that palette I had in Mercury Retrograde, or I want to say Rose Quartz too. Yeah, I feel like I had it in one of these two and I didn't need it, and I was like, I should just keep the ones with the plastic packaging. Like, I don't need to collect everything. But I do think about that palette sometimes when I want just like a soft, really pretty look. I'm like, that was a good one for that. But it's gone now. Now, could I just reach for my Rose Quartz palette or my Mercury Retrograde? Yes, I need to, probably. Last up is the Beauty Bay Book of Magic palette. I got on this thing where I was like, if I'm not collecting the brand, or I don't plan on buying from that brand anymore, I don't really need to keep like a palette from them. Like, that's a weird train of thought, right? But I was like, I'm kind of collecting Melt. I, you know, have a ton of BellaBeauteBar, Blend Bunny. Like, there's brands that, you know, I have a ton of palettes with. And I think this was at the height of my like bracket ranking like challenges that I was doing. So I was like, I feel like I just need to have all of the palettes from the brand or none of them. And listen, an all or none mentality is not it's not where you need to be with makeup. You don't need to have every palette, and you don't have to have zero. Anyways, so I got rid of Beauty Bay Book of Magic, but I really liked that palette. I think that was wasn't it like number 3 in like 2019? It was like top 3. I can't remember, but I really loved that palette. It was one of my favorites. Every time I did a look with that palette, I got compliments on it. It was so gorgeous, and I just keep continuing to want to kick myself for getting rid of it because I should have kept that one, but it's okay. I have so many eyeshadow palettes. I do not need any of the 10 that I just mentioned. Like, I'm not gonna go buy them to either replace them because they're still available or try and find them on like Mercari or Poshmark. Like, I don't need them. I have plenty of eyeshadow palettes, but I do think it's a helpful reminder to be like, okay, next time I'm due for a decluttering, like, will I miss this palette? I need to be better about thinking through that, especially if they're the limited edition ones, because obviously I miss them later on. But anyways, let me know if there's any eyeshadow palette that you've ever decluttered or lost or broken or whatever that you miss, and if you ended up actually replacing it, or if you know, didn't and you just missed that palette sometimes. Let me know in the comments down below. We can support each other through this difficult, dark times. There is one palette in my collection that I decluttered that I did actually go back and repurchase, and I will show you which palette that is right now. It is the Ace Beauté Oceanic palette. I decluttered this palette in the Flare palette, and I actually debated putting the Flare palette in my list of 10 palettes that I regret decluttering, but I regretted the other 10 more than the Flare palette, although that Flare palette was nice. But I feel like I have more palettes that are more similar to that color story that I missed that one less. Anyways, I decluttered the Oceanic palette solely because I didn't like the eyeshadow formula of that palette, especially with the blues. I really liked the formula on the Flare palette, but it was the same formula, so I don't know if it was just those colors worked with that formula better. Anyways, long story short, decluttered it because I was like, I'm not gonna reach for this. I don't like the quality on it. Ace Beauté redid their formula and came out with those palettes again, so I was like, oh, let me get Oceanic in a formula that maybe I'll like more. And I do like the formula more. I have reached for this maybe once, possibly twice. I couldn't tell you. It's under 3 times since I repurchased it. So that's why I'm saying I don't need those. I got rid of them. I've moved on. It's okay. But yeah, so that's the only palette I've ever gotten rid of and then brought back into my collection. So I don't intend to make a habit out of it, but I thought this would be a fun video. If you don't have any palettes you regret decluttering, just let me know if you liked this kind of video in the comments down below. And we'll see you all next time. Bye!